Today is day one of our 7-day devotional just for Mormons. So if you grew up in the Mormon church and you're interested in digging into the Bible, really understanding what the Bible has to say, I invite you to join us for these next 7 days as we look at both the New Testament and the Old Testament in the Bible. Today we're going to take a look at John chapter 8, and here's the lesson we're going to pull out of it. People matter to God no matter what they believe. Whether you're Mormon or evangelical, or it really doesn't matter. A lot of times in religion, isn't it true that we can get a little bit more interested in our religion than in caring about people? We judge people for what they believe or even for how they act instead of loving them as a human being. We see this clearly in John chapter 8, where Jesus encounters this woman who's caught in adultery. It says in verse 3 that as Jesus was preaching on the Mount of Olives, the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees brought this woman who'd been caught in the act of adultery, and they put her in front of the crowd. Now, I guess my first question is, where's the guy, right? It takes two to tango. But the point to the story is that the religious people were trying to expose Jesus. They were trying to trap him. They said, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. Now the law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say?" See, they were trying to make Jesus pick between religion and love, but those two things shouldn't be opposed to each other. That's just what tends to happen in a lot of our churches. Jesus answered like this in verse 7. He stood up and he said to them, "Let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." Now, this was a brilliant answer because Jesus understands this basic truth. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes religious people lose sight of that. When they're pointing their finger at someone else's sin, they forget that they too have sin problems. So the story continues in verse 9, and it says, "When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman." And this is where Jesus finally focuses on her, and he says to her, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" And I love how the story finishes in verse 11. She said, "No, Lord." And Jesus said this, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." See, according to the Bible, this woman mattered to Jesus, even though she was someone who would be discarded by religion at that time. And that's the point in today's devotional. People matter to God no matter what they believe or what they've done. If your form of religion, whether it's Mormonism or evangelical Christianity, or it doesn't matter, if your form of religion loses sight of this, then read John chapter 8 and take a hint from Jesus what true Christianity is all about.